G'day, guys. So today, here with Tom, and we're starting up a podcast called the Black Sheep Podcast. How you going, Tom?
Good, mate. What's going on in BA?
It's
Pretty warm down there.
fucking hot as hell, mate. Ridiculous. 38 degrees and humid. Concrete, no beach, no mountains. It's bloody awful.
That's crazy extremes. Hey, I didn't realise it's that bad down there.
Yeah, it's only for 2 months, a year or something, and then it's pleasant. But yeah, extreme here, mate. So I've locked myself inside and enjoying the aircon. So yeah, where are you at the moment, mate? Mexico?
Mate, yeah, Mazatlan. I'm sure you can see that. It's a balmy, we can't, 24. No, you can't. 24
Oh, I
degrees.
saw it at the end. Yeah.
18 at night. So yeah, it's a bit of winds, but yeah, beautiful, mate. Beautiful.
I'm actually so jealous, man. I wish I was there by the beach.
Mexican
right
winter.
now. Yeah.
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 Coast, man. Where it's at.
Oh, mate, I wish I did more of it. I only did what's it called? Puerto Escondido. Yeah. I wish I spent some more time in Mexico, but one day, mate. One day. So
Funny, man. I was literally my choices were to go down to Escondido or come up here to Mazatlan. I remember you telling me you did like it so much, so I actually thought I'd come up here. So yeah, it's good. It's got quite a Mexican feel to it, not too many gringos. It's good.
you should try out Puerto Escondido, mate. Don't take my word for it. You'd probably love it. It's way more of a it's more of a surf spot. It's just incredible surf. It's like world class there, but yeah, just washed out with backpackers and yoga and fucking it wasn't even that cheap. Like if you want anything decent, it was, to me it was quite expensive. So
it's more that like eat, pray, love kind of destination. That's what Sayulita was like where I just was. It's just like, full of Americans and Canadians trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
Time and place. It's all right. It's all right in small doses, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, time. We did so many years in Bali, so going back to that scene for me, when I got to Latin America, I was like, nah, I probably don't need this right now. I need to go and see something different. And that's why I love it down here in the Southern Cone, because it's just like complete contrast change to most of my life in my 20s.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
Same for you. So what's your situation, mate? You're a geologist as well. Threw the towel in, 6 months ago, and now you're in Mexico?
That's it, man. Yeah, so if anyone actually watches this, Geordie and I have been mates for 15 years now. So both Tasmanians. I was very similar career path. I was a geologist just like him. It's basically when you go into geology, there's two main fields. You kind of go into mining or exploration. So they call exploration the real geology, which is what Geordie did. Was on into mining, which is more the like a pseudo engineer. But look, my story is essentially similar to Jordo's. We've got a lot in common, I think. But I threw in the towel about a year and a half after you. Got too jealous of seeing you traveling over here, and mate, I pretty much had the golden handcuffs at the time, earning big salary. I was a senior geo, so pretty good salary. Had a girlfriend in Australia and all that kind of stuff. But mate. Basically, that's a long story, but after all the COVID nonsense, bit the bullet and been on the road now for eight months, I think.
Yeah, nice.
8 or 9 months, and just slow traveling through Mexico, watching the uranium portfolio go up slowly, and just keep my head down, laying low. And
when you say you're in the golden handcuffs, I don't think we actually truly were to the definition, but we had thoughts going through our mind as if we were maybe going to have to go down this path. What made you not go down that path and follow what everyone else is doing? What changed it for you?
What changed it, mate? It's like, you've written about it really well, summarising it, but it's like you said in one of your pieces, like you look around, and anyone in their 20s or 30s, like I encourage you to do this, like look around at your supervisors and people that are 10, 20 years ahead of you, and just ask yourself, do you want to be like that? And for most people, it's probably yes, and that's fine. But, man, like we used to look around in our industries, and I think most people we work with are good people, right? But they're just, I don't know, at least for me, most people were sort of overweight. A lot of them were divorced. And their only real ambition was sort of how many mortgages they could have on their 200K plus salary. Just thought, I don't know, man. It's just there's not much, there's something not right in that for me. There's something in my gut that didn't really resonate with that, and I think you and I felt that way in our 20s, but we didn't really know what the other option was. We just knew it didn't feel right. So yeah,
Exactly. Like we could have gone down that path easily, but in the early days, we both wanted to get some time under our belt working as professionals. That was important to us. I remember we used to talk about it all the time. We're like, well, we'll get like 5 or 6 years under the belt, do some traveling when we've got a career and money behind us, and we'll be much better off. Because I gave it an attempt before I worked as a geologist, traveling for Europe. And yeah, it was great for about 4 months, 6 months. And then I got sick of it. And then I was like, I need to go back and actually do something with my life. And I remember as soon as I got my job, I just put these motions in place to enable me to hopefully leave in the future again and feel good about leaving. So that was the whole investing in cyclical sectors and learning how to options trade. What processes did you put in place similar, mate? Or what were you thinking was your way out of your professional career without, running back to it a few months later?
yeah, man. We're talking about this the other day. Like for me, I guess it's a bit of a cliche, but I kind of discovered the whole. And this is when I was like mid-20s. I first started working, but discovered the whole, financial independence kind of movement, which I think is where a lot of people start. But that's essentially, that whole idea of working for a couple of decades, being really frugal, amassing this huge portfolio in conservative sort of ETFs, and then getting to your 40s or whatever, 50s, and living off the dividends. And it was a good place to start. But I mean, it's a long story, as you know, but eventually I sort of followed you into the cyclical and asymmetric trades of uranium and offshore oil. I met Trader Ferg through yours truly. We three of us used to live in Bali before COVID. It's a whole other story. But yeah, I kind of saw this opportunity as like, at a stage in your life where you're still young, you've got no kids, you don't have any debt, you don't have a mortgage. These cyclical sectors, they're kind of like once in a lifetime opportunities. So I could slave away to my 40s chasing this 4% rule of the financial independence, with the ETFs, or I could like have a solid crack at taking some risk, because you can only do it once really. Like once you've got kids or if you have a mortgage, you don't really have that opportunity, So yeah, essentially, I was about a year after you, so I haven't made the same returns as you, but followed you and Ferg into the uranium trade and the oil trade, and it's paying off now, man. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it's still luck at the end of the day, but at least we put these like motions in place to like potentially get a nice payout if it plays off. So it was kind of like the when not if scenario, and then you just sit on those positions until something happens in the sector, whether that be 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever. I'm not going to lie, it's been a long time since my first investment in uranium. I think it's been about 6 or 7 years. But yeah, obviously strong conviction.
2019, man.
No, I think I was even more. I think I was like bought my first uranium stock in 2018, Deep Yellow. I remember buying it
that early,
20 cents or something when I just heard of John Borshoff through Ferg, and I was like, geez, yeah, if anything does happen in uranium, the sector's at its the absolute bottom. So I just thought it was a good idea to put all this FIFO money that we were earning, and because we didn't go down the pathway of buying a house and getting a mortgage, we're sitting on big cash, because obviously, mining pays quite well in Australia and nowhere to put it. I didn't want to keep it in the bank with a low interest rate. So invested in these cyclical sectors, and with everybody else basically telling you not to do it and telling you to buy a house and telling you you're crazy. So it's good that you are on the same page as me, mate, because there's only a few of us. You had the same thing at your workplace and whatnot.
Yeah, man, that's it. And just like people kind of look at you sideways at our age now, like when we haven't bought a house, it's just they kind of look at us. I mean, I think you told me a few weeks ago, some people back home to look at you like you're still on some holiday. It's all gonna come to an end soon. You're gonna come home. It's like, no, like you don't understand. Like I feel like we're more free personally than a lot of those people, because we're not sort of shackled to paying off a big mortgage. But yeah, man, it takes some balls to go against the crowd, I guess, and it's not for everyone. But I'm certainly happy with the decisions we made and whatnot. So
yeah, well, I think it's just the longer you stay away from the workplace and even Australia, to be honest, like I shouldn't hate on Australia too much because absolute great place to grow up. We're both Tassie boys. I grew up on a hobby farm. You're something similar. We had the best childhoods. We had a great economic situation where we could, position ourselves to get lucky in the share market. We can't complain about any of that, especially after all this traveling we're doing through these bumhole countries. We are
best place in the world to grow up, man.
best place in the world, hands down. We're super lucky there. But I went back a couple of weeks ago for Christmas and the holiday period, and yeah, mate, it just wasn't for me. I found out within a couple of weeks after I ticked off seeing family and the very few friends I have left there. I was just kind of like, no, I'm quite out of place here, and I was very happy to land back in Buenos Aires and continue life here. I think it might be the same for you, mate. But yeah, we're very similar, me and you, and yeah, I think the longer you stay away from the place, the harder it is to almost go back.
That's it, man. I guess, yeah. Let's not open the whole COVID chat rabbit hole too much, but I think that was an awakening for a lot of people, let's be honest. And I think, like, for me, it's just like Australia doesn't really have the values. It doesn't align with my values anymore.
That's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put it. Let's go back to the COVID chat, because that is interesting. That was pretty much the kick up the arse I needed to get myself out of the fucking country and do some traveling and, like, I don't know, unwind from all of that, because we were literally in one of the most totalitarian states or places to be in the world at the time. It felt like
we're going there, are we?
Jeez. I think we're going this already. Oh, we got to watch what we say.
Daddy McGowan, remember that? Remember Daddy McGowan?
Daddy McGowan tattooed on his people getting his tattoo. What else was happening? He was getting called the People's Republic of Western Australia. This is like modern day Australia, right? They had pretty much a dictator. Remember the landslide victory he won? He had 90% of the vote. The Liberals were if they had even won any seats, but it was ridiculous. And then the sad thing was the public and all our workmates and even a lot of close friends, they all really supported it. And here we were, just these two Tassie lads, being like, what the hell what are people thinking? Like, are they really against this sort of like borderline human rights abuse?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, have you got any American friends in your audience that watch this? Like, Western Australia, it's huge geographically. It's essentially the size of the entire west coast of the US, for example. And it's only got 2 roads, or 3, but 2 sealed roads that come in and out of it. So the government basically just locked the whole state off from the rest of the world. So we didn't really have any lockdowns. I think we had 2 or 3 tiny ones, but we were free in the state, which was pretty cool for the first 6 months, and the rest of the world was going, nuts. But yeah, mate, it just, for any non-Aussies out there listening to this, it went on for, was it 2.5 years? It was nearly 3 years.
Like that.
And then after we had, under duress, have to have the shot, the clot shot, we still weren't allowed. So Geordie and I are from Tassie, right? So we weren't allowed to fly home to see our family. Yeah. I don't know, and I just feel like everyone's kind of forgotten about this stuff, and I try and forgive and forget, man. But I still think about this stuff, and I'm just like,
oh, mate, that's my biggest issue. I probably dwell on the past too much, but it's great for writing content I've found on Substack, because it's kind of like a way I can get it out of my system a bit and have it down on paper to write. That actually happened, because, mate, big shock to our life. Like, this is going to sound like absolute first world problems, but me and you, for instance, living in Bali, had a great life, and then all of a sudden we had nowhere to live. Like, we were just like, you guys are going to have to find a place in Australia now. You can't go over there. And it was just a big shock to our life. Like, it sounds a bit, it sounds a bit too like, well, this is the real first world problem to have, but it was a big shock. Like, prime of our life, we were really enjoying our time over there. We had rent to pay. We had everything, our whole life in Bali. We didn't have only connection to Australia was us working in the mines. We didn't have any connections in Perth. It was straight from the airport to the mine site. And I'd been over there for 4 years before it happened. And I was just like, right, so I should be able to go back in like a year or something. And then like 2.5 years later, I was like, I need to get the hell out of this country. And that was my kick up the ass I needed. And then, landed in Bali. Got back there for the first port of call after Australia, after COVID. And then I realized I didn't want to be there. So now I'm in Latin America. But Yeah, it was just a big shock.
And like, yeah, you're talking about values though. Like, I think, and we've talked about this a lot. It's like what annoyed me the most. This happened a lot in Australia, but I think Western Australia was the absolute worst. Was just the complicity of the entire population. In terms of like they were so happy to be like locked away,
Locked away, doing nothing.
and
They were,
oh, don't open the borders, keep us safe. And for the
keep
first
us
6 months, whatever, none of us knew what was going on with all the media hype. But I just remember 2.5 years into this thing, and it was still locked out. We were still locked out of the rest of the country.
yeah,
And I'm just, yeah, and I think back to those memories and people I worked with, and it was everyone from like smart, like intellectual people all the way through to like, I worked in an underground mine site, so I worked with a lot of working class boys, big, neck tattoos, this kind of thing. And it was the same thing, mate. It was just like, oh, keeping us safe, like generally. And I'm just like, I don't want to like invest my life in this place,
You got to remember how little people actually critical think and look outside mainstream.
Yeah,
it doesn't really happen that much. It prompted me to search for like alternative sources of news, and once I did go down that rabbit hole, it just led me right down it, and I'm still there today. And I have very little trust in mainstream media, but yeah, very disappointing on how the majority reacted, and it showed in the voting. And yeah, it was enough for me to be like, F this, I need some time away. And yeah, that was almost 2 years now. So yeah, very disappointing, mate. But like I said, went back to Australia. It's not for me for the time being. Very happy in Latin America, and I think you're finding it over here is finding it very similar. You're enjoying it as well, and you've only just really started in Mexico. You've still got the whole Southern Cone to go in South America. So yeah, it's interesting times for us.
I mean, we could save it for another episode if we keep this podcast going. But it's good timing with the the uranium finally playing out. We've put our cock on the block essentially. And we're over here, and then now it's playing out. So it's like we put in that risk at the start, and then now we can be over here, no debt, net worth's going up. A lot every day. I shouldn't say because I'm going to curse it. Mr. Market will come and smack me, but yeah, it's good. It's a good feeling, man. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was pretty grim this time last year. I remember I was looking at my portfolio and being like, holy shit, I'm going to have to probably go back and door knock on some mining companies' doors in Western Australia. If someone will hire me after all the shit I've been writing about lately. But yeah, it's been good. But yeah, like I said, it's just paper net worth, and really at the end of the day, it's it's not real money until we realize that and pay the ridiculous tax bills we've built up. So at the moment, my focus is on trying to trade some income around options. How are you going with that, mate? I know you've had a crack at that and doing a little bit of that as well.
Oh, mate, still not really. I've been meaning to. I think I've got about 10 grand worth of Transocean. So when you start trading that again, I'll probably follow you into a few little income trades. But it's now for me, I think I'm going to wait for uranium to play out, and then the next 18 months probably start investing in some online businesses.
Oh yeah.
Talking about all the COVID chat, like I think you and I are the same. Like I just don't want to go back to a JOB. Like it's that acronym. I don't know who came up with it, but it's like JOB stands for just over broke, and it's so true. It doesn't matter how much you earn. But it's like it rings true with me. I'd much rather just have that like location independent kind of laptop money. So I think that's a focus of me for the next couple of years. But yeah, definitely going to follow your your trades on Substack and try and dabble and make a little bit at the side.
Yeah,
sure. I'm just pretty lazy with it though, bro. I'm so lazy.
No, it's just great to have an arsenal to use if the opportunity presents itself. Like I keep saying, it's just good for any level investor just to know how to trade some basic options on positions. I found it's like a little bit of a secret sauce because you can just be anywhere and make some money, and yeah, you don't have to answer to anyone. You work on your own time schedule or market hours, and yeah, it's just a good way to see some cash flow come into your account when you don't have an employer. But yeah,
I love those photos. You play some trades when you're like Patagonia, or you get a couple of bars of signal. It's
Mate,
it's the best. Bit
I
better than
remember
a bloody co-working space in some woke bloody hippie Selena.
that's another topic we can talk about, mate. It's just,
Yeah.
I swear, all these digital nomads, unless you're a software engineer or, I don't know, some high end digital marketer, these guys are super stressed out. And I don't even know if they're making that much money that the stress is worth it. Like they're working on like obscure hours. They're paying for expensive co-working spaces. They're paying for expensive rents wherever they are because they want to be in the the popular areas of cities. So they don't usually come cheap. And I just think, to me, I look at that life and I'm like, I don't think I'd enjoy having an employer being on someone else's time schedule and trying to do that, like what they're doing. I need to be my own boss and manage my own money. I think it's
I mean, look, man, it'd be amazing to do, but yeah, how long can you do it for? And you get to a certain age, like we're in our early mid-30s, and it's like, all right, you want to actually start scaling what you earn. I've never really met a digital nomad who's not a business owner who can scale what they earn. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know what you mean.
also
Man, why?
Yeah.
Tell me why co-working spaces are so expensive. I don't get it. I'm pretty new to all this, but
just because you're in Mexico. I think it's because you're in Mexico. Yeah.
Is it? I'm like, why am I paying $20 for free coffee? That's shit.
That's exactly what. No, I actually can't justify it here in Buenos Aires. I can't justify it.
Yeah.
I go and sit. I've got this lovely little cafe. I'm not going to give the name away because I don't want it overrun.
Yeah.
But it's fucking epic. It's got the best coffee I've had in Buenos Aires. It's in a quiet street. It's a beautiful old building. I just park up in there. The internet is rapid. Coffee's $1.50. And I'm like, why the hell would I go to a co-working space? There's a co-working space nearby. I went in there. They're like, I think it was like 90 US a month. And I was just looking around.
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay, do you get like a designated workspace? It's like, oh no, you don't have that. You just have to fit in, and then you have to book a private room if you want to use a private room. And then they close at like 6 p.m. every night. And I was just like, so I don't even get like 24-hour access to this place. I don't get good coffee. I have to like
it'll be some
shit different people, like, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's not worth it. But I probably would be there, to be honest, if I didn't have this cafe. But I've never done it, man. I went into a Selena once and I was like, fuck this, I don't like this at all. Like, just like I'm paying $20 and I'm surrounded by woke Germans. I'm surrounded by
stereotype, but there's always some loud American there. Definitely run the scope out little cafe.
I think we're just too different to fit into those crowds, mate. I think we're the black sheep of this whole movement, pretty much. I still haven't found anyone that does something similar to what I'm doing. Like most people, they're employed or they're here for a holiday when they come to Buenos Aires and I meet up with them. Or but for us, I think it's because we're coming off these jobs which was super intense and super physical. So like when you're an exploration geologist, it's you're out, you're actually doing some heavy lifting, you're walking for kilometers, you're on drill rigs. It's hard work, and then you're earning great money. And to kind of come back onto like the digital nomad scene and get a job within sort of one of the portals there, that just wouldn't really make sense for us. So it's kind of like I kind of think that the miners and the FIFO workers are kind of different breed when you meet them traveling.
I think it cooks our brain a little bit too, being that environment. But look, I mean, and it's another cliche, but like I think Tim Ferriss said it in his book, the idea of like mini retirements. And I don't know if we're having that, but it's kind of like that thing. Like we work so hard in our late 20s, working away, sacrificing those good years.
It's true.
I worked underground. You worked out in the sun. Yeah. And it's almost like, I mean, I'm a year and a half behind you. You started a year and a half before me, but it's almost like right now I'm just like, I'm still almost relaxing, even though it's been 8 months, but I don't know. It's almost,
Do you remember that anxiety you used to get before flying day? Like I remember it so well, especially when I first started out. I was so happy to have a job, so lucky to be working for a great company and learning from these epic geologists. I was like, this is great. But then I remember like 2 years in, the thoughts are going back onto like a 2 weeks or a three and one roster where you spend 3 weeks out at work, 1 week off. The night before you'd fly in, I'd just be like, what am I doing? Like it just wore off pretty quick, and I stuck with it for 7 or 8 years or something. But like, I remember that feeling of just not having that commitment anymore was one of the best feelings I ever had. Although the job's great, but the whole thought of just missing out on a bit of some life goals you wanted to tick off, like obviously come over here, and yeah, it's just you can so easily just fall into the routine of fly out work and just stay there for 20 years like most people do, and then time just evaporates.
Once you get that first mortgage,
And then you get the
I'm
whole
housing a lot, and I can talk about it
the
for
whole
hours.
golden handcuffs on
me, but oh man.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, yeah, you and I started late too. Like, it's another thing. When you and I started, we were like, what, 24, 25.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because we felt at the time, we felt a little bit washed up, right? Because we'd spent all this time traveling back to Europe.
Yeah.
After it, we got our degrees. And then you get to these jobs, and the people that were on our level were like 21, still living with mum and dad. So it was kind of like a weird experience.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was going with that, but
yeah, no, it's exactly that. Exactly that, mate. It's like I came into it late. That's why I said the initial period when I started working as a professional was great. I was loving it.
You're so appreciative.
So appreciative.
Oh, free food. Oh, wow.
Free food at the mine site, money coming in,
yeah.
all this stuff. I was learning off these great geologists, and then carried it through. But then it just wasn't sustainable for me. Like I quickly found out after a couple of years, I was like, I cannot be a guy working here in 20 years and be happy with myself. I think I'd have a lot of regret. So that's when obviously started putting the motions, like I've talked about earlier, in place to hopefully get lucky, like position ourselves to get lucky. And it's basically what we did. And here we are.
You talk about it a lot, but we've got a lot to thank Berg for. And it's, I mean, you met him initially, but you're bloody lucky to meet that guy, because we certainly try and, at least at the start, not so much now, but we both sort of tried to emulate what he was doing in a way. So
absolutely.
You had
Berg's blueprint.
You hadn't met him at that. Yeah, but if you hadn't met him at that beach club, whenever you met him, like who knows, we might not even be here.
I actually met him at an Airbnb. We stayed at the same one.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
But it's exactly right, mate. And I remember like it just a funny backstory. Talking to Ferg, seeing how he operated, and then realizing that he's a bit of a different unit, as in the dude's not just an average investor or just an average bloke. This guy is literally, he's getting mentored by a successful hedge fund manager. He's putting in the time. He's a serious dude.
He's so humble.
He's a serious dude about it all. And so meeting him and going through this, and then just having the confidence to just basically copy trade him for a couple of years, and then go back to people who are asking me what I'm doing, and they'll be like, "What the hell? Why would you do that? Like, well, you're just a geologist. You don't have a finance background. Like, why would you be investing in this? Because you just met a random person." I'm like, no, this dude's actually got something different. Like, I know it's cliche to say it, like all these people meet like a crypto god and they follow them, but I was just like, I just had great conviction by meeting this dude, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, I think I can do very well if I just stick with what he's doing. Obviously paid off. I used to go back to friends and family, and they'd be asking what I'm doing. They go, why the hell would you be doing that with your money? Put it in there, buy some property, stop, gambling.
Mate, I still get it from my mum now. When you're buying a house, like, well, when I do finally buy a house, it's probably not going to be in Australia. I'll tell you that. It'll be overseas somewhere.
The trouble is, mate, with buying property in this part of the world, it's just so damn cheap to rent. Like I've thought about it. I've often thought about it over here now, spending a lot of time in Argentina, and I'm just like, God damn, when my rent's $400 for a brand new duplex apartment, I'm just like, Christ, I don't even think about buying something and risking it in a dodgy financial environment. And I'm like, Jesus.
That's the thing, man. I mean, if you're into investing as much as we are, and you can get your cash flow up to a certain level, it doesn't really make sense to buy property for us anyway. Like, we don't have kids or anything yet, but maybe things change when you got that a family. But like I'd much rather chuck my money into coal mining or more oil and gas or whatever, for some dividends. But
great how much time we both have now to focus on doing what we actually want to do. I remember when I was working as a geologist, you'd be so drained at the end of your shifts, and especially on your time off, and you wouldn't want to kind of better yourself, or I didn't anyway. I just kind of wanted to chill out and just switch off from trying to like think too hard. And
you're so burnt out.
And then what happened was quit the job, had the honeymoon period for about 2 or 3 months where it was just like a big relief to be out of there and just travel and enjoy it. And then the whole cash flow worry started creeping into the mind. And that's when I really got into options trading. And that's when it all went. And that's when I started feeling better about the decision and not having to run back to Australia and work. So, yeah, mate, I think it's important to find something that's, you can stick with and earn some money with and not just burn out from traveling and then head back to the same 9 to 5 that you quit. So I think that's the difference. And it's just whether or not you can sustain it and find that is really the difference.
And I think you and I are quite introverted, and we get more introverted as we get older. So for us, I speak on behalf of you. I'm sure you'd agree. Like you and me are quite content to be alone for long periods, which doesn't bother me. But some people they need. So the way we travel, I mean, you live in Buenos Aires, but I sort of do a month's minimum when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Another point I was going to make is, man, like I think it's good. I used to freak out when I was in my late 20s about turning 30. And again, I think that was like another societal thing. I've just turned 34. But I think it's good that we're doing this, with now at this age, and that our the Iranian bull's starting to get up now, because I think if this happened to us in our late 20s or mid 20s, we'd be too young and dumb. Like, I actually think it's a perfect age for it to happen. You know what I mean? Because we're a bit more switched on, and it's like we actually want to, use that money, to continue this lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's it's a big factor. I remember, I remember traveling when I was in my
20s. I'm getting so old, shit. But now I'm like, oh no, this is actually the perfect age. I don't know. I've got to scoot in about 10 minutes, man. But
yep.
Good attempt at the first podcast. Hopefully we'll crank out a few more. I don't know. Hopefully the 10 people that watch this might get a tiny bit of value out of it. But I don't know. Hopefully there's some young lad watches us two clowns who's in his 20s and thinks, he feels without a place. Maybe, there's other options, mate. Don't buy a house. Don't go travel. Save your money. I don't know.
Exactly right. Exactly that. Hopefully we can, that's what I say in my Substack as well. I'm just like, hopefully this reaches somebody and someone's interested in it. And yeah, it seems to be a few people that interested in this sort of pathway. So yeah, good first start to the podcast, mate, and looking forward to the next one already.
And another rabbit hole which I won't know because I've got to go, but it's like, especially now, you look at some of the Western countries like Australia, especially the direction it's going. I mean, I don't want to make this political, but like with all the immigration and the cost of living and all that kind of stuff, like, yeah, hopefully we can get to 20 episodes, mate. Keep them short and sweet. And hopefully we make this a thing.
Sounds good, mate. Let's get to 20 and we'll go from there.